I was blessed to be born into a Christian family and was a member of a country church, many of you know, Trinity Lutheran at Walton, where both sets of my grandparents, as well as several other relatives, were also members. That church was an important part of my early life, and continuing as I was baptized, confirmed, and married there. From the time we were old enough to go to Sunday school, my parents made sure that we attended every Sunday that we were able to. A memory from my childhood years, being only 7 years old at the time, was when a serial killer, Charles Starkweather, murdered an older farmer and also a high school couple very close to our home. The entire community was afraid of who might be the next victim or victims, and I remember being so frightened that I would hide behind the sofa in our living room. But then I remember my mother putting her arms around me and telling me that God was right there with us and He would keep us safe. That's my very earliest memory of knowing that God really was real and that He was really listening to my prayers. And I think our choir this morning, I thought that song was great. The King Jesus really is listening to our prayers. Youth group, it was called Walther League back then, strengthened my faith as we had a very active group of young people and some very dedicated sponsors who initiated some fun activities. One of those was our annual talent show, which was usually quite hilarious, but it kept everybody involved and people wanted to be a part of that group. Following my confirmation, I attended an event held at Concordia College in Seward with a couple older youth from my church. It was called LSV, which stood for Lutheran Service Volunteer Camp. It was a week-long Bible study and devotions combined with some fun social activities. My faith was definitely strengthened by attending that camp, and I soon became more involved in church activities in my home church, teaching Sunday school, helping with Vacation Bible School, and singing in the church choir. I've had several experiences in my life where I know God was truly present. While riding with one of my friends when we were just 16 years old, we met another car on a gravel road. My friend lost control in the loose gravel, and we rolled the car, landing upside down across the ditch at the side of the road. This was at a time when there weren't seat belts in all the cars, so we were not belted in. We ended up crawling out of the car from the back seat, and although my friend was hysterical and screaming that her father was going to kill her for wrecking the car, neither one of us even had a scratch. I have no doubt that God reached down and placed that car across the ditch rather than in the ditch, because we were told that we probably would not have survived if that had happened, because the roof of the car would have been crushed. I also think it might not have hurt that we were coming from a youth group activity of a caroling party that night. Another more recent and similar situation occurred when a man driving a pickup truck collided with me at a blind intersection, also on a gravel road. Once again, neither of us was injured in what could have been a deadly accident. When our daughter Paige was 5 years old and had rarely even had a cold in her young life, she was diagnosed with acute lymphocytic leukemia. Our church family was there to help out when we were at the hospital, to help with meals and lawn mowing while we were away from home, and most of all, praying for our entire family. Those prayers were answered as Paige went through 3 years of treatment and was ultimately declared cured. In 1989, my dad passed away accidentally by choking on a piece of candy. This was devastating to me and the rest of our family, as he was only 68 years old. But we knew that my dad was now in heaven, and we will be reunited again when God takes us to be with him. Being a member of a mission trip to Tijuana, Mexico in 2002, along with my husband Jerry and daughter Paige, was a faith-building experience I will never forget. Our group, which was made up of members from Here at Peace and members from Messiah Lutheran in Lincoln, I believe there were 53 of us altogether, we spent a week there building 3 houses for some very needy families. The extreme poverty of the people and the poor living conditions, even the compound where we stayed, which I'd never quite experienced that kind of living situation before. We had very poor bathroom facilities and showers that barely dribbled out, and sleeping facilities that were less than a luxury hotel, let's just say that. And also not very safe. We were told we couldn't be out after dark, walking around outside the compound because it just wasn't safe. But we were knowing that we were sharing God's love with these less fortunate families, as well as with each other in our small daily discussion groups and evening devotion times. It made the experience a very positive one. And we also had our share of fun times and plenty of laughter. In 2007, my faith was tested when our son and daughter-in-law lost their infant daughter, Emma, who survived only a few hours following an emergency delivery. I've never seen my son so sad as he was at Emma's funeral, but I'm thankful that his faith and ours carried us through a very difficult time, and God has blessed them with 3 healthy children and blessed us with 3 precious grandchildren. Also in 2007, our son was diagnosed with a GIST tumor, which is a gastrointestinal stromal tumor. Once again, our prayers for a successful surgery and recovery were answered. Health issues for our family seem to be ongoing, as Jerry went through 5-way heart bypass surgery in 2011 and then was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer in 2012. Even though I hate the pain he has endured through living with this disease, my faith has been strengthened, knowing that God has answered our prayers for successful treatments to this point in time. And he's actually been called an enigma at the Med Center in Omaha because he has survived longer than most other people with this illness, and we know that's due to all of you praying for us. Jerry's faith is strong too, as he does not fear death, but is grateful for the time he has been blessed with. Paige had surgery in 2016 to remove a brain tumor, which thankfully was benign. We feel so blessed to have so many people praying for us through all these health situations. I don't know how non-believers face similar situations. They must be overwhelmed with feelings of helplessness. This makes our responsibility as Christians even more serious to spread the good news of Jesus and his free gift of salvation for us. All we need to do is believe. On a happier note, I want to acknowledge my fellow praise team members. My faith has been strengthened in so many ways by being part of this amazing group. The sharing we do in our Bible study times and the fun we have working together to help share God's love through the musical gifts he has blessed us with are a very special part of my life. Being part of the July 4th parades for several years, dressing up in crazy costumes for the Halloween outreach events, or playing at local wineries to share God's love through music have all strengthened my faith. I'm truly blessed to be part of a loving Christian family and also part of a loving church family. I thank God for all of you, and thank you for listening.